Hi guys, something different today, like my previous videos. I was just going to run you through some of the graphic work that I do, and I mentioned it in the previous video about like using the green screen for backdrops and such, and also for the Amelia covers. And this is going to give you like a rough idea. And if you are familiar with like art methods, etc., you'll know what vector art is. It's kind of shapes and layers. That's the most basic way you can put it, shapes and layers. And I'll show you some examples on here. So at the moment, as you can see, there's a door, kind of like an old-fashioned type door, and these light brown shapes on the side here will eventually be bookshelves, and they'll be covered in books. Now, because it's for the Amelia series, I don't have to worry too much about like hyperrealism, as they call it. So I don't have to make everything super realistic and photorealistic, that kind of thing. So there is a bit of artistic license there, and also there's usually a slight blur added to the end product so that the character picture, which I will be showing some of later on, not the actual character, but I'll show you what I mean, like how you can use vector art for some really kind of interesting work, because I've been using it for a very long time now. This is a vector program that I use called Simfig Studio. It's just, I've been using it for so long. I'm very happy with it. I'm kind of learned to use it, etc. So if we go to, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pretty much get rid of everything on the screen. So if I click on this door here now, this door's going to disappear completely, you see? Completely disappear. Alright, and I'm left with these shapes here. So this is like I've called it the horizon line. It's just a reference line for me, really. I'll click on that and that'll disappear as well, you see. That's a gradient there, running like a light grey to a darker grey in the background there. But I'm pretty much going to get rid of everything, so that we're just left with a gradient, and then I'll walk you through the door bit, and then, like I say, I'll show you another piece of the couple of pieces of the artwork, and how it's all layered together. And it will feature one of our very own booktubers, Beth from Beth Chats Books, because I drew a portrait of her, and also an author friend of mine called Christine Hughes, who I mentioned in my previous videos. So let me show you what I mean now. I'm going to open this door folder, and I'll kind of work you through how I did it bit by bit. So I started off with I'm going to have to do this, so I'm going to have to click all these off and show you bit by bit. Sounds time consuming, but it really isn't once you get into it, and it's kind of interesting that way. So we started off with a door panel. Click on that. Oh, it won't open up because that's not on. Okay, hang on. There we go. Right, so there you go. Basic shape, door shape. Like old-fashioned type door. The Amelia series, the Amelia Maylock series is fantasy. So I use a lot of kind of like old-fashioned doors and equipment and to give it that kind of magical feel when I do stuff. So there's your door there. It has an outline. I know outlines really don't exist in real art, like in the real world. There's no such thing as a outline when you're doing art. It's all just shading, but obviously this is like a cartoony style to it. So we're going with that. Let me just zoom in ever so slightly. I want to get this whole bit in while I talk, and then we can move from there. So there we go. There's the thing there, and Then I added in these wood lines. So if I click on those, you'll see the wood lines, and they literally are just straight lines that I've drawn. That one's a black, and that one's like a lighter colour. You see, so it looks like the light's catching in the groove, if that kind of effect. So it looks like panels on the door. Yeah. Okay. So then, where are we now? That's kind of like a shaded region. That's what I've called it there, door shade region. So again, you know, I haven't gone really into detail with all the proper shading and where it would be, etc., and that kind of thing. But it gives the, you know, it kind of gives the impression that there's a slight shade going over that side of the door. Because this door actually appears like it's a magical door, so it just appears. So there's no need for kind of thing. It might even be slightly transparent when I finish it. I might put a slight little kind of fade in there so that you can see the background through it. I'm not sure yet, because when this appears on like a bookmark or a book cover or any kind of promotion for the third book, the details won't, you know, some of the details won't be seen. They'll be so small they won't be seen. But I'm still going to do them anyway, because I'm, you know, that's kind of the way I do things. I like to stick what I can in there when I have the chance. So let's put a keyhole on, and we're going to zoom right in for this one, because we cannot see a thing, because as I just said, it's very small. So that will kind of probably be mostly lost, but it's there, and that's simply just a circle and a triangle joined together. So that's the keyhole there. Copy and paste, add another keyhole down there, and then where's my keyhole plates? They should be around here somewhere. I think they're in the shading folder. So if I click on my shading folder, there we go. So now we have like a keyhole plate, slight bit of shading and light effect there, and a drop shadow, which again is just a shape. These are just shapes added on, and it's layers. So like I say, if you want this layer to be above this layer, you just put it above it in the list. That's how Vector kind of works. So we'll zoom back out. Let's get down to say 30 something, so we can see what we're doing. 40 will do, that'd be nice, yeah. Okay, so now we've got the door starting to look kind of interesting now. And where did I go after the door frame part? Let me shut this down here. Ah, the hinges, right, okay. So, shut that. Right, so we go down to our hinges. Once again, I drew one hinge, which is this top hinge here, and then I just repeated it down here. Slightly changed it, pulled it around. I'll show you that in a second when we zoom in. So I'm going to zoom into this hinge now, top one. Here we go. And this is again just a shape with an outline. That's the main one. Shape, outline, and these circles are, you know, indicating like the screws or the bolts that go through the door for the hinge side there. This is again just another shape layered on top to give that idea of shading, which we spoke about. And these are, like I say, when you draw a shape, you get these kind of little nodes on the side here, and you just grab these and pull these around, you see, and then the shape changes. That's how it works. And you design how you want the shape to look. So you literally just draw this with the mouse, and then you can move them around as you see them, you see. Pull them around, move the curves with these yellow ones, and you can just draw as much or as little as you want to, I suppose you could say. And like I say, we copied and pasted that down here for the second hinge there. So we're going to go back up. I'm going to shut that folder down there, because these folders can, this little box over here can get very full up very quickly. Excuse me. You can imagine I've got, what have I got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws or bolts sitting there. So that's 7 things that's added to your list, you know, unless you start doing grouping over here and sticking them in group folders. which is a very handy practice that I use. Let me see. I added these two little lines in here again. Very, you know, hardly noticeable at all. But I was thinking to myself, well, you know, the door's going to swing open. I just kind of wanted to get that idea of a hinge there. Like, literally it's just a line, a small line. So yeah, from our little shape that we started off with, we now have what looks like a slight door, I suppose. Let me add on my handle. So I click handle, we'll zoom in. We will see that we have basic shape, outline again, a couple of extra lines to kind of, you know, indicate there's a, I mean, it's going to be obviously lifted off and curved, which is why I did the shadow on, and, you know, just a bit of shade in there to kind of hint at that it's lifted up. So when it's back there, it gives the impression, it gives the idea. And lastly, I believe, if I go right down here we go, yes. Now I'm going to click buttons now, and things are going to appear around the edges, okay? So frame 1, so there's like a side bit of wood. Imagine that's a plank of wood that's put on the side, you know, like the frame bit. Frame 2 goes across the top there. Frame 3, I copied and pasted and just changed the shape. I told you about using those nodes over there. 4 up the top there, and 5 joins it all together. So there's a kind of you know, it's kind of set into that frame shape. You imagine if it wasn't a magical door that's kind of floating there, like I mentioned, you'd have like a wall would be coming off here. Obviously, you draw your wall in, or more wood. You know, you accentuate the frame, however you wanted to do it, really. Now, this shading section that we did here, all we did here was just pick this colour, darkened it down so it's a darker shade, and then just added this kind of line here, which gives, like I say, there's a bit of shading across the door there. But it needed to carry on the frame, so we added a line in here as a kind of, you know, that's one piece of wood, this is one piece of wood here, so these are separate pieces of wood. And then we've just kind of followed this pattern, but up here with these little sections of shading that lie on top of that. And we have to be careful of the layers, because if we didn't layer it properly, then this black line here would have disappeared underneath this dark kind of brown orangey colour. It would have disappeared under that if the layers weren't correct. That actually did happen. I had to muck around with I had this as one section like this, but it took some of this black line away, so I had to break it down into sections. But, you know, it's not time consuming. It takes 5-10 minutes, if that. Right, let me just double check, because I think that's our door all done, if I am looking correctly at my ticks. Yes, that is my door all finished. Now, I mentioned about the blur. So if I click this button here, there's this slight blur kicks on. If we zoom in, you can see it quite well on the key plates, actually. That looks, it's a really nice effect. It gives it that kind of oh, what is that? It's like a magical glow, isn't it? Now I'll click off the blur. I'll click back on. And that's a very, very slight blur. I've got that set to 0.14, which is very slow, very low. That's, you know, that's nice. I'll muck around with those settings at the end. I'll see which ones I like, etc., and how it works. So turn that off, shut our door down, zoom right out, because we need to see this now. And there's that thing. So then I added in what I called a horizontal, a horizon line. So that's my phone going off. So I've called this a horizon line. This is just literally just a reference for me. I needed just a straight line in there to get a reference. So that'll probably disappear. It might stay. It might stay. Because when we see the bookcases in, if you imagine you're walking through two bookcases and at the end is the flat wall in front of you, that would actually work in the right position. So if we click onto the regions, that's the main right region. We'll click on the main left region over here. So you can kind of get an idea of what I mean now about this horizon line here, or what I call the horizon line. It's that could work. If the door wasn't there, you'd think that that was the wall and this was the floor, and that line was the the edge of the room. Let me see. We've got outlines on these, and where is my? Is that right? I think that's right. That one. Oh, these are all the. These are all the. I know what I'm talking about. Trust me. These are just extra lines, like. So there's an edge, if you know what I mean. That's like the edge of the bookcase, as it were. Sorry, excuse me. Must have more tea. Now, if you're familiar with like 1 point perspective when you're drawing art-wise, you will. I kind of chose a random point, kind of here, in the middle of this door, and then I drew some straight lines, just going across this bookshelf, and I'll zoom out a little bit more. Let me just get that central. Zoom out a little bit more. I kind of picked a point here, and then I kind of drew these straight lines out, and I followed the 1 point perspective, and this is my vanishing point here in the middle. That was kind of how I did it. So if I click these on in order now, so we'll go number 2. I need to. There we go. If I click down there, it's easier to see. So there's a line there. So this is now going to be like a shelf. That's the top shelf, and then it will go back up, down, I should say, and click on that one, and that gives us that shelf. And it's like, so if you imagine this extending out, it would end about here, and if you imagine this extending out, it would end in the same place. And same again for number 4. Extend this one out, it's going to end around here, and the last one, extend that out, keep that line going, and it's going to end out over here. So this is where I am with it now. This should take me, I should be finished with this hopefully by the end of today. I've probably got another about 5-6 hours left in my working day. Obviously I can extend that or whatever if I need to, but this is how it is at the moment. I'll obviously double these lines up, they will become shelves. You might hear a kid chatting away and laughing in a minute because someone's coming down the stairs in my apartment block. So, and we have some very excited kids who live in this block, including mine. Right, so as I say, these lines, I'll double these up. I'll give you a really quick example because it's very simple to do. So if I go down here and I pick this one here, I'll just simply copy and paste. I'll just rename that to B so I know what I'm doing. And then using my little tool here, I'll just drag that down. And then that then is the front of the shelf. Okay, that's the front of the shelf there, that line. So I'll darken that down, make that, a different colour, maybe hint at the shading. Same again on this one, same again on this one, etc. Exactly the same over this side. And I'll get this first, and I'll maybe get some shading on there first. Then, once I've done that, I'll start to kind of add book spines in and fill the bookshelves up. And then we'll go with that, I think. But that's it for the moment on this illustration. Like I say, this will appear. This will be behind me in a green screen in the very near future. And also, this is probably going to be included on the Amelia Book 3 cover. And like the character that I've chosen is Moreo, like I mentioned in the last book, will be kind of in here somewhere, like where my mouse is kind of spinning around. So a lot of this will be lost behind, but I need this picture anyway for, you know, marketing, promotions, etc. Any kind of thing that goes, you know, that I can use it with in the books, like the bookmarks, etc. Those kind of things. So the work's going into this now, and then it will just be like used as a master copy, if that makes any sense. Excuse me again. Right, now for the fun part. Now then, Beth Chats Books. Now, we should all be very familiar with Beth Chats Books because she's got a wonderful channel and we love her so much because she's just amazing. That's Christine. We'll get to her. We'll get to her. I need to find Beth. Here we go. Beth Chats Books. Okay, so here we have a portrait. Beth Chats Books. She look marvellous. Very nice eye colour. I love it. I love it. And this is, I know we just drew a door, which looked very simple, but I also use this to draw portraits of my author friends, my reader friends, you know. I just pick random people sometimes when I'm in between projects, when I've got like one day to kind of sort out between different projects or something like that. I'll quickly jump in and draw a portrait of my friends because I'm a nice guy. I like to do things like that. But this is exactly the same principle. It looks so much more complicated. I know it does, but it's exactly the same principle. If we zoom in, you can see that obviously this is the top layer. You know, these are just layers. That's a layer on top of there for shading. So, you know, there's no lines here. The entire shape of this, there's no outlines here like there was on the bookcase and the door. The entire shape of this is kind of, is made up of just layers and then colours on top of layers. I mean, that entire side of Beth's hair there is pretty much one layer. And it's just got little streaks running through it. You see? And you can see there light shading for the side of the nose, dark shading around there, and like I say, we mentioned the lips, the eyes with some you know, like the glint in the eye that you get with the lights. Eyelashes are one shape, and you just build it up slowly from base image. You start with like literally the shape of the face, and then you just build up and build up. I use photo reference because portraits, you know, obviously you want them to be as realistic as possible. So I use photo reference. I'll have the photo open in the background, and then I'll kind of work this and etc. There is a little bit of artistic license involved with some of my stuff. Sometimes I don't have a decent enough picture to get a nice, you know, like a nice hairdo, or the hair's not properly in shot or anything like that, and I'll use a little bit of artistic license. I know Beth was happy with this one. I'm very happy with this one too. And then we'll move over to Christine. Now, this one's amazing. I love this one. This is one of my absolute favourites. Now, this is my friend Christine Hughes. If you go to Amazon and just search, or search for 3 Days of Rain. That's one of her books. Amazing. Just be ready to cry, though. It's a very sad book. Right, so here you go. I've gone mad with the hair here. You know, there's like crazy blonde. There's like lighter blonde here, like sun-kissed blonde. There, and there's like a darker brown running in the background. You know, we've got an amazing pair of glasses sitting on the front here. Oh, phone's going again. Yeah, same thing there. If we zoom right in on the eyes, we can see she's actually got 3. No, she's got like 1, 2, 3. And those beeping noises, this is because my phone is literally linked to every other machine here. So it goes off on my pad, it goes off on the computer. Amazing. But yeah, as you can see, there's quite a lot of detail here in the eyes. There's the like a lighter shade there for the iris, and you've got, yeah, like 5 there, 5 or 6 light points. The shading there for the glasses, that's actually a shading line for the, so that the glasses show a shade coming off, you see. And zoom right back out again. And then she was, obviously she's doing like a kissy face. in the photo that I used. So we had to do a kissy face there. But it's one of my favourites. Now I know Christine was pleased with it, because that's all I want. You know, I don't tell people I'm doing this. I surprise them. I just draw them and then send them the picture, and they're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And yeah, so I'm pleased about that. And there's that was actually really, I thought that was going to be really difficult to get the shading just there on the face so that you think the cheeks are, you know, pulled in, but it actually worked out really easily. It was so simple. It's just a little shape with a bit of a blur on it, or a feather as they call it, just to smooth it out, kind of. And then obviously I would have picked this main colour and then just darkened it ever so slightly, and faded it in. But that is kind of, you know, that's the kind of thing I achieve at the moment when I'm working with this. But then I've been working with this program for a very, very long time. And some of my earlier portraits were okay, but they weren't amazing. Beep, 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 phone. Thank you. My phone's jealous and just wants to get in on the act. That's all it is. But yeah, that's it for today. That's what I wanted to come in and show you. Something slightly different. Just to show you what I'm doing at the moment. So this is obviously... Where is my original? No, where's my original bookshelf? There it is. Yeah, so this is kind of what I'm working on at the moment, and this is going to be used for a lot of future kind of, you know, it'll be posted around social media, it'll be used. It's probably going to be on the book cover as well at some point, the Kindle cover. So I'm going to need this to be sorted, and then obviously I need a new portrait to go on the front. And this will be covered in books, like I say. And then the good thing about this program is as well, is I can animate this if I want to. So if I wanted to zoom in, if I wanted to have like the door kind of fade in from nothing, you know, like kind of appear, I could do that. So there's a lot of kind of scope. I've just noticed a slight, yeah, you see there's a slight overlap. I don't like that. I'm going to move that. Because you wouldn't get that. That needs to be flush. No. Is that going to be really one of them? There we go. That's it. Okay. So there you go. That's my... I'm not even sure what number we're up to now on Authortube. It might be 12 or 13. It's gone very quick, hasn't it? Since I kind of promised myself I'd work hard. And I have been working very hard on Authortube. I'm very pleased with myself and my commitment to it all. Yeah, so something different for today, and I hope it was interesting for you. And if you know it's not you haven't come here from the book world, you maybe saw an art tag, then I hope as well this was interesting for you, whoever watches this. And I will see you in the next video. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye.